Hey everybody, it's Paul.
And it's Steve, and we're here to discuss all sorts of great ideas, and today we're going to be talking about...
the 5 worst movie sequels.
And there are a lot of them out there.
There are. All right, so before we get started with these, I think we kind of need to set our parameters.
Right.
So for me, I didn't necessarily pick the second movie in a series. I may have picked like one of the later on ones. And in some of the series, because some got worse as they went on.
No, they did, and I did the same thing when I was first putting my list together. I went with, and not all of them ended up making the list of fun, but I went with as well later movies that were sequels to the first one that did get worse as time went on.
Yeah, and I think in order to have a bad sequel, you have to have a great first movie.
That's right.
Because if you don't have a great place to start, what's it really matter?
Yeah, absolutely. If that's just as bad as if the original is just as bad as the sequel, then it doesn't go downhill.
Yeah. All right, so this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
So do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
I'll go first. That would be great. Yeah. So I'm going to start out with one of my favorite movies was Speed, and one of my just least favorite of all sequels was Speed 2.
I'm right there with you.
What a disaster! I cannot believe
Speed 2
is so bad compared to Speed.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Now here's the question. With any of these movies, were you walking out of the movie theater trying to convince yourself, that was really good?
And all of them, you try to do that. Because, you get so connected to the original. So then when you walk out of each one of the sequels, you think, this is supposed to have been good. What did I miss? Did I fall asleep through part of it and I missed the good parts? Or what? Did I just do something wrong? And you almost, in the immediate aftermath of seeing it, you convince yourself, oh, that was really good. And then as you think about it later, that was terrible. Why in the world did I ever even think that was a good movie? And certainly Speed 2 was one of them.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing that movie and probably 2/3 of the way through thinking, I could leave right now and it's just, I wouldn't be missing anything.
That's how you know you're in a bad movie, because I'm usually the guy that's going, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
It's good. I have faith it's going to get better. And then I'm looking at like, there's only 5 minutes left. How can it get?
Yeah, that's right. They don't have time.
But I'm in too deep now.
That's right. Yeah. I've got to wait.
So luckily our movie theater does have refillable popcorn, so there is that.
That's the time to go
get popcorn cone.
Yes. That's right.
All right. Yeah. Speed 2 is bad.
Terrible.
So my first one, and these are in no particular order, is going to be Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. That's from the Richard Donner Superman series. Christopher Reeve. That was his final turn as Superman. I feel like they really tried to make a political statement with that movie, and it's funny because a lot of people feel like Superman 3 was the worst, and I actually really enjoyed Superman.
I liked it. It wasn't my favorite in the series, but certainly it was better than
at the time, I thought it was great, and even now I like it because it dealt with computers.
Yeah.
And I think kind of coming of age with the computers and the idea of like this new technology and what can these do, and of course then there is the whole idea of like if you could just get that fraction of a penny for each bank transaction.
Right. Yes. Oh yeah.
So Superman 4 is going to be mine because that's a movie that I didn't see in the theater. I actually rented it years after it came out. And like Speed 2, like midway through, I was kind of like, I'm hoping this gets better.
Yeah.
I sold
and it did.
I sold it through. It just never got better.
Yeah. Now I don't think I saw that movie twice.
Yeah, I did. I saw it once and never again.
Yeah, never even went back. Some of these, even some that are on my list, I tried.
Yeah.
It was okay, maybe something was off. Maybe the popcorn wasn't good, or maybe I wasn't paying attention. I'll go back and watch it again. That one was so bad, I didn't even bother with a second viewing.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm with you on that. There was none of the magic that the first 3 had.
No, not at all.
So.
Not at all. All right, so I'll go with my second one then.
Right.
And this is another, I really enjoyed the first movie. Came out in 1977, saw it in the movie theaters. My parents took me to see it. It's one of Ginger's favorite movies. She just loves this movie. The music is phenomenal. Anytime any song from this soundtrack comes on, immediately it just builds you up. I loved Grease, but Grease 2, Paul, why in the world would they have made Grease 2?
I know, and Michelle Pfeiffer, she, for one of her early movies.
That's right. It was able at least to overcome that. But what a terrible sequel. It didn't have any real connection to the first one.
Yeah.
Which would have made would have been important for me. I mean, that a sequel actually has some kind of legitimate connection to the original story. And they tried to, all the comedy was forced, and it was not natural. The acting was bad, the music was bad, the story was bad. It was just bad in every conceivable way.
It was. I'm with you now. Now that's a movie that I have not tried to watch twice.
No.
I tried to watch it once and I lost interest about midway. I'm like, no, I can't do this. Even my wife, who loves Grease, couldn't do Grease.
No, I didn't see it in the movie, in the theater, and I don't know that. I really don't know if I made it all the way through. It was that bad. But.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you've ever watched Behind the Music, there's a Behind the Music of Grease that you can see on YouTube. Now, wait till after this video to go on.
That's right, don't leave yet.
Yeah. And that's fascinating because it talked about how Grease got made and how they agonized over each and every cast's choice and just all things. And I really feel like with the success that Grease had on the budget that it was made for in the movie theaters, they're like, hey, let's go to the piggy bank again.
One more time.
And I don't feel like there was any caretaking with the music or with really. I think that was wholly a studio.
That's right,
a studio thing.
Yeah, and the first Grease, maybe it was lightning in a bottle, and they just couldn't put any of the pieces back together.
Lightning in a bottle.
Grease lightning in a bottle. I love what you did there with that. There was no way that Grease 2 was going to come close to recapturing the feel, the atmosphere, the ethos of the first movie, and so they just trod way too hard. It was at a time in the 80s when movies were trying to find their way as well, but anyway, it was just a bad sequel.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to have a controversial pick. So I actually had Speed 2 on my list in the next spot. So I'm going to go with an alternate pick here, and that's going to be Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Oh.
So I absolutely love Star Wars.
I see what you're having to do now.
Yeah, I absolutely love Star Wars. And The Phantom Menace has some brilliant scenes in it.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the movies that, as I was leaving the theater, I've convinced myself it was good. Because we had gone, 12 years with no Star Wars in the movie theater. And all of a sudden we got Star Wars. But it was not a Western or cowboys or an adventure story in space. It was now trade negotiations and political dealings.
It wasn't Star Wars.
Yeah.
It wasn't Star Wars.
I still like it, and we had Jar Jar Binks. Yeah, there's just so much about the Phantom Menace that I understand that they were trying to build the backstory for Anakin Skywalker and so. And there are some iconic scenes. The Duel of the Fates with Darth Maul is one of the best pieces of film footage in existence, in my opinion. But a lot of the rest of the movie is not good.
No,
compared with how good Star Wars,
the
original 3 movies are. And that's a shame because there's so many great actors that appeared in that movie, and
Well, and I think had it not been for the strength of the Star Wars canon, the first 3. That I don't know that they would have been able to overcome Phantom Menace and anything else be made afterwards. But there was enough that already existed that it was okay. We can try to come back and do this again and it'd be successful. And I think the final trilogy ended up making up for how bad even Phantom Menace was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As a whole, if you look at Phantom Menace just as an individual movie, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
As part of that prequel trilogy, it's fine. It's okay. But that's just one of those movies where I'm definitely skipping scenes.
Oh, yes.
And that's why I love the DVD or Blu-ray player. I can skip those scenes. Okay, no. Okay,
That's right. I'll watch that one. Yeah, it becomes quick. You can get through. Get through that one.
I can do the Phantom Menace in like 35 minutes flat.
Easy. Oh, that's great. And that's even with a break for popcorn.
You're right.
That's good. All right, so I'm going to go with an interesting one. And these were not blockbuster movies, the original or the follow-up. But I saw the original so many times on VHS.
Okay.
I saw it in the movie theater 2 or 3 times as a kid. Saw it on VHS, I don't know how many times. And so when the sequel was made, me and all of my friends, we were so excited about this. But the reason this one made the list is because for me personally, this was one of the greatest disappointments in my life, and that was the Cannonball Run 2.
Yes.
Cannonball Run 2. Cannonball Run was so
It was
good.
so good.
What an ensemble of characters.
Yep.
And even the story was good. It was a cheesy story, but it actually was a really good story.
Yeah.
And they told the story well. I mean, there were parts of it that maybe you could skip over and not watch, but
Yeah.
Cannonball Run 2 was just undoing everything that the Cannonball Run had done.
Yeah.
Undoing it.
Yeah. And it's funny in the like the late 70s, early 80s, how many, I'm gonna call them goofball movies
Yeah.
with like a very, very thin premise
All right.
were made that actually had
Yeah.
stories that you can kind of latch on
That's
to.
right, absolutely.
You had Meatballs, you had Cannonball Run, you had Smokey and the Bandit, which is
Oh, great one.
another great one and another bad
And
sequel.
another terrible sequel.
Revenge of the Nerds,
That's
another great.
That's right, with a bad sequel.
You know, all those.
Caddyshack 2.
Yeah, it's just the list goes on. Basically, any comedy made from the late
That's right.
70s through the early 80s, with the exception of Police Academy.
Yeah.
Police Academy had a couple good sequels.
They did, absolutely. The first couple of sequels were excellent.
Yeah, once you got up into the double digits.
Let's stop now. 7.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, Cannonball Run 2 definitely deserves to be on the list. All right, my next one is, so I think all mine actually were blockbusters.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Jaws. I have to go with the Jaws entry again, just because of how iconic and how perfect the first movie
That's right.
was.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Jaws 4: The Revenge. Here's why.
Okay.
Jaws 2 was nowhere near as good as Jaws 1, but it still had. I think it still had Rob Schneider in it.
That's right. Yep. Carried the story forward.
Yeah, carried the story forward. You know, you're just dealing with another shark.
Yeah.
It was okay. Jaws 3 was in 3D, and it had the iconic scene where, like, it was basically, we're going to catch a great white shark and go to SeaWorld, see what goes wrong. And that at least is a good story.
That's right. Good premise.
Jaws 4 is Jaws goes to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And, you know, and now it's personal.
Yeah.
And, you know, and this, the original Jaws movie was made in the 70s where we knew stuff about sharks, but the general public really didn't.
That's right. That's right.
Jaws
That was
2,
the unknown.
again, same thing. Jaws 3, we started knowing some stuff. By the time Jaws 4 came out, we knew better.
Yeah.
We knew better.
We knew that story was nowhere near going to happen.
Yeah, and the effects were really bad. None of the same cast was around. It was just a bad movie.
Well, and you know, the first movie in particular, the fact that you rarely ever saw the shark, and you were an hour or more into it before you saw the shark for the first time, other than the fin. There was this sense of you know, the fear and the thrill that came along with that. Once you showed us everything, then what were you going to be contributing to the picture itself, to the motion picture itself that was going to be good, and everything about the fourth one, like you said, just fell apart.
Yeah.
There was nothing good about it.
Yeah, and like I say, the idea that you couldn't see the shark, that's kind of the mystery of the sea. It's like you can't see.
That's right.
You know, once you go below the surface a few feet,
You're not seeing
in darker water, you don't see.
That's right.
And it's big. It could be something very large.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to go with my next one. One of my favorite movies of all time was The Karate Kid.
Yep.
And The Karate Kid 2, I still like, and it was one of my favorite. We did a video on on our favorite sequels. And it was one of my favorite sequels. I love The Karate Kid 2, but the next Karate Kid was just terrible.
Okay.
This is where you know, the whole premise was, okay, can we recreate all of the feeling that we had back here with a different figure, with a different person, and a whole different story, and let's try to just generate some conflict that isn't really there and doesn't stand out. So the next Karate Kid was just, and maybe it's because the first two were so good that by the time you get to the next Karate Kid, it's just so bad.
So literally the next Karate Kid, which would be the fourth one in the series, because you had 3 with Daniel.
That's right, and and that was the name of it. So the fourth one was called The Next Karate Kid.
I just want to make sure
Yeah, that's right. Not the updated Karate Kid, not the remake of the Karate Kid, but the fourth one in the series.
Now let me ask you something, because this just popped into my mind when we were talking about this. Do you think one of the challenges with that is because it was a girl, not from the standpoint of a girl doing martial arts, but from the standpoint of a big part of the Karate Kid movies was the love interest.
Yeah.
And as a teenager or young man, trying to find, trying to win over the girl.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame than a girl trying to, win over a guy.
So it really, I think that probably is a part of it. It's a whole different story. You change the characters, you get so connected to Daniel LaRussa, and once you change to a different protagonist, it's really hard to carry that. The same thing happened with the Rocky movies, where once you change the protagonist, it's hard to continue that story on. And there probably is, you lose this idea that was so big in the 80s of, and beyond, I remember before, but the guy who is fighting for, especially the teenager who's fighting for his love interest.
Right.
There are a lot of those kinds of things to the story that probably do contribute to why it was so bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good one.
Yeah. Now, are you a fan of Cobra Kai?
Of course.
Yeah,
yes,
that's right.
absolutely, of course. Without a doubt. Yes.
Supporting so much.
Okay. Yes.
All right, my next one is going to be, now again, this is because the first one was so amazing. The Matrix 2.
Oh, yeah.
This is yet another one. Now, this is one I drug Shannon to. Now, Shannon likes the movies, but a lot of times movies are a little bit too long.
Oh, right, okay.
And she also, she doesn't like to be out real late at night anymore.
Oh, right.
And so I drugged Shannon to a midnight showing of The Matrix 2.
You weren't thinking.
I really wasn't. I guess not.
Yeah.
She did it. That was a service thing. She
loves you.
She
so
loves
she
me.
was willing
She
to
wanted
go.
to be there with me. And that was one of those when we walked out. I'm like, that was good, wasn't it? I was trying to convince her. I was trying to convince myself.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't working. Though.
It was not. I've only ever seen that movie once, and I've watched part of it twice.
Yeah.
Some great visual effects, but I really feel like they got in love with the visual effects and left the story writing out, which was a real shame because I really enjoyed the story of the first one so much. The visual effects were phenomenal, but to me, the story is what made the first one so good.
Yeah.
And I was confused by the story, where the story went after the first one.
Right.
I'm still not sure. I mean, 20 years later, I'm still not sure.
No. And I wonder, I'd be interested in your thoughts. I wonder if sometimes with, not just sequels, but just movies in general, when someone finds a new toy to play with in terms of effects, that they think that the effects will make up for a poor story. Do they just say, well, let's not worry so much about the story because, wow, we're going to wow people with explosions or with, whatever cool special effect we're going to have?
I don't know. So I know that there's the memes or the pop culture hate for Michael Bay and how everything explodes.
Right.
And stuff, but I actually like his movies.
Yeah.
A lot of them I do. I get it. A lot of things explode in the movies, and I feel like he leans on the effects. But generally speaking, the stories are usually pretty good and engaging. I think that there is that danger to lean on the effects more than the story, but I just in my mind, I can't understand how they got it past the studio executives.
Right.
Because somebody's got to write a check for this.
Somebody had to write a big check for that.
So yeah, I feel like in the pitch meeting, it probably came off a lot better than it ended up being.
Yeah.
On the movies.
Yeah.
Maybe the same way, like, I love Lord of the Rings, absolutely love probably the best trilogy ever made.
Yeah.
The Hobbit maybe shouldn't have been a trilogy.
Right.
Not bad movies are not going to be on this list, but maybe could.
Yeah, could have cut some out.
Yeah. Maybe make it like 1 4-hour movie and just call it a day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we can live with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my final one, and I struggle with this one. I've got a couple of here that either of these could have been just terrible. They are. Both of them are terrible sequels. But I'm going to go with The Mannequin 2. So Mannequin was a great movie. The storyline, the idea behind, the premise behind it,
The song.
Absolutely. Everything about that movie was great.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Grease, where they came to the sequel and it's almost like they said, how can we completely ruin everything that we did for the first movie and make another one? You just use the name.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say it that way because I know that nobody's consciously walking in the meeting saying those things, but that's what it comes across
That's what
like,
it looks like
with the fans.
Yeah.
Because the first one, you know, it wasn't a high-budget movie.
No.
It was just a fun movie
That's
to,
right.
to go see as a teenager with a
Yep.
date. It was one of Shannon and my favorites movies
Yep.
when we got together.
Yeah.
And number two just had none of that feeling or
No.
none of that magic.
No, it was fun. It was light. You know, everything that makes some of these later romantic comedies good. You kind of had all those elements to it in this movie. Plus, you have story. I mean,
Yeah.
a premise that you were able to build a story around. And Mannequin 2 just wasn't that. And I wonder if some of these. And again, it goes way beyond any of my knowledge on any of this, but I wonder if sometimes you find a premise that just can't be told over and over and over again. You have to tell it in this context, in this way, and it just doesn't work anywhere else.
I think you're right. I think that Disney, the animated department,
Yeah.
struggled with that for a while when they were releasing a lot of things to video, where it was like, okay, well, we had Cinderella, which was a great classic,
Right.
story. Let's do Cinderella 2.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
that's right.
okay.
Yeah.
Let's do Mulan 2 or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, but you told me the story, and I got really attached to
That's
that.
right, yeah.
The story started and ended, and
Yeah.
okay.
Can't go back and do it again.
right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, that definitely deserved to be on the list.
Yeah,
I'm glad-
yeah. That's a
glad
bad
you brought that up. Yeah. All right, so I've got another one. I feel like I'm taking like all the great movie series and just kind of trashing them.
Yeah.
So I've already done Star Wars. So now I'm going to do Indiana Jones.
Okay.
And it's not going to be 1, 2, or 3.
No.
But it's got to be number 4, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
So I was tremendously excited when we were going to get another Indiana Jones for all the same reasons of Star Wars. And I also really like the idea that they were going to try and use this movie to kind of pass the torch or the fedora off to Shia LaBeouf at this time. And I felt like that was kind of going somewhere. The story got ridiculous kind of early on when Indy survives a nuclear blast by hiding in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
I'm okay with him outrunning the boulder. I'm okay with not getting bitten by the snakes or whatever. But let's.
Yeah. Once you go there, you've pretty much given up. You just we're giving up. Let's just blow the whole thing up.
Yeah. There was so much about the movie that didn't work. Now, this actually is a movie I have watched a few times.
Yeah.
It's something that I still will watch again, but for me, it just has almost none of the magic of the first Indiana Jones movies. Harrison Ford is still doing a lot of the physical, stunts and hand-to-hand fighting, and he's an older guy, and he was supposed to play more of the mentor role in this movie and really handle all that stuff off to Shia LaBeouf, and I just didn't want to see him in that role because I couldn't suspend my disbelief with it.
That's right.
I still liked him as the knowledgeable professor,
Sure.
but not so much as the action hero anymore. I really wanted that to kind of get handed off.
Yeah.
And for him to take on more of the Sean Connery role
That's right.
that was played so well by Sean Connery
By Sean Connery.
in The Last Crusade.
Yeah, that's right.
So I really kind of cringed to hear that Indy might be coming back again with Harrison Ford in it again. I don't know what young actor could take over.
Yeah, who could do that?
Right now, I've heard Chris Pratt being thrown around.
Yeah, could do that.
That's somebody who could.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, that would be if there's anybody who probably could step into that role. But even there, it's such an iconic role.
it is.
It's hard to imagine what it would take in order to be able to really hand that thing off and it move on. Star Wars even dealt with this with the role that Luke played in Star Wars, to be able to find another protagonist that could carry the way that Luke's character had done that. But anyway, those are great, terrible sequels. So
there have been a bunch of them, but I think we narrowed it down between the top 5 each as 10.
that's right.
10.
And I'm interested in what yours are.
Yeah.
What the sequels are that you most dislike. Maybe it was some of these. What you thought about the ones. Were there any of these movies that we thought were not good? Maybe you thought they were great. Maybe you watched Grease 2 and thought, who needs John Travolta? I mean, that's I don't know, but I'd love to. We would love to hear from you.
We would love to hear.
Yeah.
Love to hear about that. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you have any other suggestions for videos you would like to see us do, we're gonna have to do a small screen.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do something for TV.
That's right.
Coming soon.
That's right.
let us know down in the comments below. Again, like Steve said, we would love to know if you disagreed with any of these picks. What did we get wrong? We do get stuff wrong. Make sure to leave the video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and the notification so you get alerted when we post videos. We're doing a couple each week. So thanks so much for joining us. We hope you join us next time. We'll see you later. Bye.